And thank you everyone for staying here until the last minute. My name is Matthias. I'm happy to be here. As I was introduced, I am a CEO and co-founder of Fashwell with a clicker. And today I'm about to tell you the importance of an image in the fashion world. So we're going throughout the entire user journey and really having a look at what influence the image actually has. If I can click on that one. Okay, it worked. So if you look around, right, we have seen it also in the last discussion, a lot of people are actually just looking on their phone. Based on the newest reports, it shows that more than 3 hours we're spending every day more than 3 hours just by looking on our phone. And actually what's interesting is what we're actually doing with it. So what are we doing on our phone? So we're getting inspired on social media. We consume more than 2 hours of content on our phone and we're communicating. And everything what we do on our phone is completely visual. So we're living in a 100% visual world. 1.6 billion images are shared on WhatsApp every single day. So we don't text our friends anymore, we just send them pictures. And this is crazy. And so everything we do is visual. We're living in a visual world. And this is really, the reason for it, it's really simple, because our brains, they completely work with images. Our brains are 60,000 times faster to process an images than per process text. So for us, it's all about the images in our brain. And why is this an important thing for the fashion industry? Because also fashion is completely visual. 150 million of fashion images are uploaded on Instagram alone every single day. 95% of all brands have an Instagram account. So they use social media to communicate their message. Then they have influencer to recast their message. And we as consumer, we are getting inspired on social media. More than 70% of teenagers are saying that they bought a product after they've seen the product on social media. So it actually works. So we see this product on social media, and then we try to find it. And that's exactly where one of the biggest problems comes in, is actually the product search. Because so far, everything was completely visual, and then we try to get a product, we really want the product, we're ready to spend money, and then we move on to an experience which is completely not visual. Mobile search really fails. So we have more than 50% of all text searches don't work anymore. And this also means that we have a terrible conversation on our mobile phone. But let's quickly step back, and why do we actually have such an ugly interface when it comes to product search? It's really simple. We started out obviously with magazines, or with catalogs, and then we ported them onto the desktop. And this is really a simple, standardized fashion website what you see. So you see a complicated interface and a lot of functionalities. You have search, you have filters, you have a product listing, you have images. And it all works because it's in our desktop. There's enough space for it. But in the moment when you just squeeze everything together on a single phone, on the size of the phone, then things don't fit in it anymore. And this is one of the problems with it. And then what we started to do is we started to have different screens for different sections of the desktop. And this is exactly then when it fails. Let me give one example. I myself, I'm collecting sneakers. I have about 150 pairs of sneakers at home. And this is when I usually get inspired on social media, on Instagram. I use really Instagram to buy fashion products. I see this shoe, and then I go and look for it. And then the only thing the internet gives me is a search bar. And this really drives me nuts, because I'm really not able to find the shoe I really want. First of all, I don't know how to describe a product. And second, I just don't find it. Right? This shoe I would describe with black high-top sneaker, and it's almost impossible to find it. This is the reason why over the last 8 years, I dedicated a big part of my life to make product search much simpler. So what I did, I worked on computer vision, image processing, machine learning to build this use case. And to build a use case where you can just point with your camera at a product, and within a few hundred milliseconds, you get a result back. And this technology is called visual search. And visual search is completely changing the way we are shopping and searching for products. There are studies that show that more than 50% of all queries in the near future, in 2020, so in less than 2 years, are going to be voice or images. And obviously, since we're in the fashion world, it's going to be images. So one of the first companies that really established visual search was Pinterest. Pinterest, if you go on Pinterest, there was always this little icon on every image, and then you can draw these boxes that's around the shoe, and then it immediately on the right side shows you the similar shoes or shows you similar images they have. So you can take this image and use it as a search and have this really complete visual experience in search. On Pinterest alone, they have 600 million visual search queries every month, and it's growing 150% month over month. That's what the CEO of Pinterest recently announced. But Pinterest is not the only one. Also, Google, Pinterest, Amazon, and Alibaba, they're investing heavily in visual search. And visual search really becomes the natural way of searching for products. These four, and by the way, these four retailers up there, these four marketplaces up there, they all together, they have like 65% of market share when it comes to product search. So if a person wants to search for a product, in 65% of the cases, they go on one of those 4 pages, and all of them are really implementing visual search. And really, so visual search is going to be the way to search for product in the near future. And we at Fashwell is a startup out of Switzerland, 4 years old. We helping retailers and brands around the world to bring visual search. We bring the same experience that Google and Pinterest and Alibaba is offering. We bring that to retailers around the world. But now we started out with inspiration. Then it comes to search. But most importantly, when we go into the shopping, 70% of our page views in online shops are actually product detail pages. And if we look at product detail pages, we can group these product detail pages in basically in 3 different parts. Where there's the product images, and then we have the product information, and then we have all the recommendations. And you see both of them are really inspirational. There are really lots of images in there. And let me quickly show you a few statistics on how important actually these images are on this website. So there's statistics that show that 70% of the users don't convert if the picture is of a shitty or of a low quality. So the image, how to present this, is really important. But then most of all, you can fuck it up with a bad image. But you can also, if you have videos or like a model shot like pictures, 144% higher conversion rate. And if you go one step further and really integrate user-generated content on your website, the conversion rate can be 25% higher. So you really see 2/3 of the product detail page are images, and it's really important what type of images you're using on your product detail page. And the second, so one part is the product image, and the second part is the recommendations. And for example, Amazon is showing that 35% of the entire revenue is coming from the recommendation part of it. And so the recommendation is really important, and recommendation, again, is this huge chunk on the bottom of the page, and it really makes a difference. So we at Fashwell, we are also powering 2 types of recommendation. One is the outfit recommendation, and one is the visual product recommendation. But in this talk, I don't want to go into detail of these recommendations, but we actually see, especially with the outfit recommendation, an uplift of 15% on the average order value, and recommendation we see up to 30% in click-through rate. So a key learning of this entire slide should be, so when we looked at the entire user journey, we started out with the inspiration. There are like 150 million images on Instagram alone uploaded every day. So around 70% of the people are getting inspired on social media. Then they're using the pictures to search. And then the recommendation, especially image-based recommendation, can really drive conversation and drive purchase. So we are living in a visual world. Fashion is extremely visual, and that's the reason why images and computer vision and machine learning are changing the way we search and shop for products. Thanks a lot.